Kingdom of Eswatini is enforcing stricter COVID-19 regulations to try and curb the rising infections. New restrictions include a ban on travel, gatherings and burials beyond 3 days will now require a permit, and only essential approved cross-border travel with special permits will be allowed. Now we speak to our reporter Tumelo Machogo, who has more on this story. Tumelo, just quickly tell us about the impact of these regulations that have been announced by the Eswatini government.
Well, Aldrin, the Kingdom of Eswatini actually announced that yesterday after they have seen a rise in the number of COVID-19 cases. Just between the beginning of December and now, they have seen over 4,100 cases of COVID-19, new cases of COVID-19, and about 139 deaths just in that around that time. Also, just yesterday, they recorded about 234 positive cases, 7 deaths yesterday, and bringing the number of dead people in that country to 268 related to COVID-19. So far, they've got over 10,770 cases of COVID-19 active, positive, cases that have been recorded in that country. We know about over 7,000 have recovered from COVID-19, and over 2,000 are still active cases. So the country is putting this stricter regulation from tonight, Aldrin, because they're saying that from midnight they will bring that tougher lockdown into that country. They're saying that the new restriction is about a gathering. So a gathering of over 50 people will be allowed at funerals, and also funerals will take place within 3 days. And if you want your funeral to take place within after that 3 days, you have to obtain a permit from the regional offices of the Home Affairs in that country. And also they are saying that all gatherings will not be permitted in that country. Will not be permitted in that country. They're talking about also like travel between the two countries. If you want to go to Swaziland, or if you want to come to Swaziland or go to Swaziland, they would need permits, and also you would need to produce letters to say why you need to go to that country. But they're also saying that trucks will continue to travel between the two countries, but the borders will only be open for people who are coming to South Africa for school, for work, and for business purposes. But also they're telling us that those regulations will be enforced at the border post. They're saying that they will be under a huge scrutiny to make sure that the people that are crossing to South Africa, they also have to produce some kind of documentation to say why they need to come to South Africa, if they're coming for school, for business, and also for work. We understand so far that the curfew will be in place from 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. in the morning in that country, and also alcohol sale will be only sold from 11 o'clock until 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and also retail stores will close about 6 o'clock. So they're trying to minimize the number of people who will be going to shops and all those kind of things, because they're saying that their health sector has already been stressed out by the number of COVID-19. They have over 230 people that are already hospitalized. So they're saying that they cannot cope with the number of people that are testing positive on a daily basis, and also those people that are in hospitals. You remember that Eswatini is one of those countries that their health sector is not up to scratch. So most of the people actually do come to South Africa for medical attention. So they're saying that they cannot cope with the number of people that are coming to hospitals with positive cases. Aldrin?
Okay, so what does this then mean for, number one, South Africans who would want to travel to Eswatini, but also Eswatini nationals who are in South Africa and probably part of the holiday makers who would want to return back home?
So far, Aldrin, I can tell you that we've seen not a huge number of people actually trying to cross the border before midnight, because the border here closes about 8 o'clock in the evening. So the people are trying to cross the border, but a number of people will be crossing the border throughout today to make sure that they are in that country before lockdown is in place. But also the people that are in that country, already troublemakers that are already in that country, we have been seeing a number of them already leaving Eswatini to go back to South Africa. But we'll be speaking to tourists and people who are already on that country, because they need to leave before tonight, because the borders will be closed, and they're telling us that people who will be leaving that country will also be only under strict regulations, and those people will have to produce some kind of documentation why they need to leave that country.
Okay, well, we've seen at the Beitbridge border post that there's been a lot of activity in the background. There doesn't seem that there's as much activity where you're at the moment. But the South African government deciding to set up those mobile rapid testing centers. Do you see anything of that sort on the South African side of the border post?
Well, they also already that lab that has already been set up here at the border post, and also about 2 kilometers already there is another lab that has been set up at the clinic there to make sure that people do test before they can cross the border, and also those who are coming in without any of the letters, COVID-19 letters, they can be tested here at the border. Here, there's already stationed here. Not a lot of people are coming in and out of this border. It's still very quiet, but I'm going to ask Lungile just to pan through and then show you the number of trucks. Actually, it's just the trucks that are actually trying to cross the border, and that will actually continue because the border management and also Eswatini government, they're saying that trucks will still be allowed to cross the borders because they need those essential services, especially food that and other services that have to go to Eswatini. So we are seeing a number of trucks, but we have not seen a huge number of people leaving that country or actually going into that country. But we've been speaking to the border management here from South African side. He's been telling us that people will likely to be leaving this afternoon to make sure that they cross the border before that lockdown is in place, because that lockdown has to begin this evening at around 10 o'clock, and the curfew will be in place immediately at 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. for the next 14 days to make sure that they curb the number of COVID-19 cases in that country. They're saying that after 14 days, they'll review all these lockdown regulations to make sure that they can place the country in another lockdown if they have to place another lockdown, or if they have to they will review those the cases, and they review also the regulations to make sure that if it was positive to go with that regulation, and also to make sure that they announce more regulation after that 14 days that they said they will do. Aldrin?
Okay, so as it stands, as you've indicated, that the curfew comes into place at 10 p.m., but the border post closes at 8 p.m. Has there been any word as yet from the border management around how they're going to work around this, considering that the curfew only comes in at 10 p.m.?
Well, the border management, they've been telling us that, okay, I'm just going to have to wait for that truck to go. The border management have been telling us that they have to make sure that everyone is crossing the border before that time, because the curfew, when it begins in that country at 11 p.m. at night, no one will be allowed to cross the border, and no one will be allowed to be on the road in that country, because the police will be on the road. I was speaking to the acting Prime Minister this morning over the phone, and he told me that the police will have to ensure that everyone is at home at around 11 o'clock in the evening to make sure that the curfew is in place. And they're saying that the police will be monitoring major roads. They'll be going to the city and also to some villages to make sure that curfew is in place. But the border management here in South African side, they're saying that they will process everyone that needs to cross to the border, to the other side of the border, to make sure that they deal with the people that needs to cross the border before that curfew is in place, because that curfew will begin this evening at around 11 o'clock, and then the country will go on lockdown at 12 p.m. at midnight tonight, Aldrin.
Okay, then thank you so much for that. And just quickly, Tumelo, so just for clarity's sake, so the curfew only comes in at 11 p.m., not 10 p.m.?
Yes, Aldrin, the curfew begins at 11 p.m. until 4 a.m. in the morning, and the lockdown will begin at midnight tonight.
Okay, then thank you so much for that. That is our reporter Tumelo Machogo joining us from the Eswatini South African border. And as you've indicated there, that the Eswatini government has decided to also institute a curfew and also go into a hard lockdown. One has to wonder what the South African government would say and how it would respond as our cases also continue to increase.